Good evening. Hopefully you can hear exactly what I'm saying. We'll give it a few minutes before we get started in this evening's stream. Let me know down in the comments where you're from this evening. And yeah, hopefully we'll get started in just a few moments. Just going to pop the chat window up there on the right hand side. Just making sure I've got my window set up so I can see what's going on. But yeah, I mean, welcome to this evening's stream. We've got a few things to talk about. We're looking to talk about mainly the Switch lineup this evening. So we've spoken about a few of the others in the past, and I guess I'll say this at the start. I'm hoping a little bit more. I'm hoping from next week I can have something a little bit more interactive, where I'm set up on my normal setup. I've been doing a few things in the background, and hopefully it'll be a bit more interactive and a bit more for you to look at in the coming weeks. There are some ideas I have coming, so yeah, hopefully those ideas will be coming to fruition soon, hopefully. Okay, well, yeah, let's get started anyway. We are at the time that we said we're going to stream, so we'll get started. And as I mentioned, we are talking about some switches this evening and having a look through Ubiquiti's lineup to see how things are going, what we've got in there, and what sort of choices you should be making when you're looking at something like this. But we'll take a step back first and talk about just some of the general stuff. So new video out today where I finally managed to get my hands on the Device Bridge and the Device Bridge Pro, as I mentioned probably last week on my stream. So there's a new video out if you want to choose whichever one that you... Sorry, let me say that again. So you can choose between the Device Bridge and the Device Bridge Pro and whichever one that you want to set up, basically. So in the video, we set them both up. We do some tests with some cameras. We do some distance testing, and we do some iPerf speed tests as well, just to see the sort of throughput that we're getting depending on where we are. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check it out. Or if you haven't already, go and check it out and give me some engagement with the video to help it move forward with the YouTube algorithm. So yeah, I mean, go ahead and check that one out. Good evening, Vasil. How you doing? Welcome. So that's the video, and the other one I didn't mention before that, but I released a video of the enterprise access points that were released. So just last week, after I did my live stream on the Unify access points, it seems that they've released some enterprise ones. Unfortunately, I don't have any yet, or I'm not sure when and if I will be getting any, but if I am, I'll be sure to bring some videos for you. If there is some interest in it, I mean, maybe I can try and pull one or get one and see if I can get some reviews done for you. But we'll jump straight into those first. So these are the new enterprise grade indoor access points. So these are 10 gig uplink. So the original Wi-Fi 7 access points are 2.5 gigabits per second uplink. So these are the 10 gig that we've seen on some of the other brands out there. They have those 10 gig links. I think I mentioned a TP-Link before that has a 10 gig link on the back of it. So I'll be very interested to see what sort of throughput speeds we're getting with this. We haven't seen any YouTubers deliver those videos yet. So we've seen some of the guys already do have them, and they've released some images on them. So hopefully in the coming weeks, I think we are waiting for the final piece of the puzzle, and I think it all kind of makes sense. So we have the Wi-Fi that's been released. We will come to this shortly, but I'll show you just now while we're talking about it. We have the enterprise. Where is it? We have the enterprise campus aggregation switch, which has come out. So this is the. I don't think this particularly affects it as such, but the main one will be the campus switches. Now these campus switches deliver PoE+++. So instead of PoE++, there's three PoE three pluses in there, and these deliver the 10 gigabit PoE++ that's required for these access points. So yeah, that's something. I think that's the final piece of the puzzle. It does say coming soon. So who knows? Hopefully, maybe before the end of the year, maybe early next year. Who knows? Only the guys at UI can give us the answer to that one. But The access point itself is 10 spatial streams, so real-time spectral analysis. If you've not seen that, I did a video on the U7 Pro versus the U7 Pro Max where we look at the real-time spectral analysis. It's only probably for 30 or 45 seconds, but we went through it at that point and to see what it does. I think it's quite useful. If it's read correctly, it can be quite useful for deployments. It has up to 2,000 square feet worth of coverage and 1,000 plus connected devices. So there's a lot in the comments already, and I think I've seen on some of the Reddit forum and some of the Facebook groups as well, where those devices have actually already started appearing with people, and you can see they are sold out. So they are flying off the shelf at $500 each. And it's the 10 gig uplink port with a 1 gig backup. A lot of people would have been asking, well, why not 2 10 gig backups? I mean, I'm sure there's a reason behind it and what they might have done it for. That second 1 gig backup is literally for power and data redundancy to make sure. So you're not going to be able to have your full service once it goes to that backup link, but you will still be able to get to it and you have that there. Just jump back over to the comments quickly. Hey, Black Jedi, welcome all the way from Montreal. Thank you for joining. Let's have a little look at some of the... I am streaming across a few different platforms. So, yeah, I mean, if you see something that doesn't sound like a question to the stream that you're listening on or what you're looking at, there are other platforms that are on here that I am streaming to. So that was the E7. Then we have the E7 Campus. So this one's coming in January 2025. So not quite there yet, but that one will be coming soon. I think the only difference I found with this, obviously we have a slightly bigger square footage in terms of coverage or square meters. Still has the 1,000 devices and the 10 gig and the 1 gig port. There's different mounting options. And this one has the Prism RF filtering technology, which was probably, from what I remember, if I remember from the stream correctly, it was basically about changing the, it takes in the signal, changes it, and then puts it back out into another signal format. I need to look more into that. I'm not saying I'm an expert in this area, but it sounded like something that could be useful to reduce interference. So that's something, if I do manage to get my hands on one of these, that's something I would want to test. And the last one they released was the E7 Audience. Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, and I think I mentioned it in my video, there is a, if we look, not a flagship, have they removed? No, the mega capacity one. So it's like the Wi-Fi base station XG. It's an improved version of that. If we have a look at some of the specs on here, so Wi-Fi 5 still does 5,000 square feet or 465 square meters. This has 1,500 devices, and again, the 1 gig and 10 gig uplink. And it has the software adjustable coverage as well. So it looks very similar to the E7 Audience, except this has a few additional features, such as the Prism RF filtering technology that I spoke about, the real-time spectral analysis with enhanced channel selection, and the 12 spatial streams. So yeah, there's some interesting improvements to that one. That one's coming in at March. That's coming March 2025. And I would, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more than the base station XG. So we're looking at $2,000. The other thing I was going to mention, and if I can quickly find it before we jump into the main topic of this evening, I don't even know if they've got it on their website. Do they have it? The AI port? It should be on their website. There it is. So this little tiny device, if you were looking to get your hands on one of these were going to be available, or they were originally to be available on the 4th. They've been delayed till the 18th, or they're now available on the 18th, I should say. So, yep, mark those dates in your calendar if you are looking to get yourself an AI port. Let's have a quick look. So we've got a question. Do you think the U7 Pro is worth it with all the IoT problems, or is the U6 Pro a better choice? So I think we briefly spoke about this on the stream last week as well. I mean, there are people that are definitely having issues with the IoT devices. Personally, I think I mentioned I haven't had too many issues. I don't have as many IoT devices. I think these were people with a number of a heavy number of IoT devices. I believe Ubiquiti have acknowledged it, and it is something that's being worked on. So it's something that's being looked into, and I think there will be a future firmware release coming for it, if there hasn't been already. So I think I read a post the other day that there was something that had come out in testing. I believe it's still in testing, and the results were looking quite promising. So even if you were to get the U7 Pro and you're having short-term problems with your IoT devices, you're looking at this as an investment for the long term, unless you're planning to turn over your access point in maybe 12, 18 months. If once they've stabilized, it might be quicker, it might be within a month, 2 months, who knows. So I think for me, if I was making that choice, I'd probably jump to the U7 Pro, because I've always been one to try and get the latest and greatest. And for the short-term problems that you may or may not face, it's one of those things that will get resolved eventually, if it's not going to be resolved imminently. So hopefully that answers your question for you. What else do we have? So I think that is it. Yeah, I've mentioned about the new video that's out. So yeah, I mean, do check that out if you haven't already. So let me have a quick look here. If you haven't already, hit the like button. A love heart always helps the video, and thumbs up always helps the video on the algorithm. So yeah, do that for me, as it helps me out with the streams on here. So let's jump into today's topic. So the main thing, I mean, if you have any other questions, I will say feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will try my best to answer, or we can find out together depending on what that might be. So today's topic is going to be around switches. So we've covered sort of, in the past few weeks, we've covered gateways, we've covered access points, we covered Ubiquiti, we covered Unify Protect, so we looked at some of the cameras, and this week we're going to take a look at some of the switches. So I think, I mean, we can see right here there's 34 different options when it comes to switches. So it's which one works in the best sort of scenario for you. So the first one we look at, I mean, I'm going to use Ubiquiti's breakdown of all the different switches that they've got up here. So the first one is the aggregation. We have 3 different options when it comes to this, ranging from $269 all the way to $4,000. So a big jump in between. So we have $269, $899, and $399. These are US prices. I'm not going to go through the different regions to give you all the different prices. I mean, you can look those up if you want, or drop me a comment if you want a specific price, and we can go and have a look for it. So the Enterprise Campus is something that's just been released. This is their Enterprise 100 gig, 25 gig layer 3 Ether lighting switches with MC lag support. I think this was very welcomed a lot when these were announced. At the price range, I think, yes, for the average prosumer consumer, this is quite expensive. But for those enterprise use case scenarios, this would be, I think, a lot cheaper, mainly down to the fact that there's no license fees. And some of the other vendors that are out there have been out they've been around the game for a long time. And yeah, I mean, their price reflects that as well. We then have the high capacity switching. So this is the one that has 10 gig SFP plus. So we have 32 ports. Yeah, so 32 ports layer for 10 gig SFP plus and 25 gig SFP 28 connections. So we have 28 10 gig ones and then 4 25 gig ones. So you can see by this here, it's designed to be your core switch at the top, and then you can start connecting into all the other devices. It would be interesting to see, I mean, they have the MC lag on the campus aggregation. It would be interesting to see whether they bring a software update to the high capacity aggregation switch to allow those sorts of features on them. Same with the aggregation switch, really. I mean, that would be interesting to see if they release something like that in the future. But as it stands, that I don't believe that is an option at the moment. And then, so this is $899, this one, and then we have the aggregation switch, and I think this is popular in a lot of people's homes, to say the least. This gives you 8 10 gig SFP plus ports, I actually have one down here, which I'm waiting to fit into my rack setup. But this gives you a really good option to plug everything in. So currently I have a UDM Pro Max, I have a 24 port switch, and I have a 16 port switch in my setup. So I have 3 right there. I have the UNAS Pro, that's 4. So that's 4 10 gig connections that I need right there. And there's only so much that I can do within my switches. So an aggregation switch will be going in, which will then connect all of those together. Let's jump back to some of the comments. Love your video on the UDB. Thank you. Yeah, there was a bit of work that went into that one. So it's good to hear that that is being paid off and people are enjoying that. Alberto, we need 5 to 8 10 gig port switch with PoE++ like Armada has. A true Wi-Fi 7 with AP with 2 10 gig PoE++ ports. I agree. You also have to look at the, I guess, not defending of the side of Ubiquiti, but I guess you got to kind of look at the marketing concept of this. The 2 10 gig PoE++, possibly. I mean, that's something maybe that should have gone into the enterprise switches, enterprise access points, but that's down to Ubiquiti's decision in terms of what they've done. The 5 to 8 port 10 gig switch, I mean, it's an expensive way to do this, but you could get yourself an aggregation switch and get yourself some SFP plus 2 RJ45 ports, or the high capacity switch. It's a more expensive way to do it, but that's one way you could do it. The 5 to 8 port 10 gig switch, yeah, I mean, we'll jump into their sort of smaller lineup. I think that it's called their utility lineup. We'll have a look at that shortly and we'll see what's available in there. But yes, I mean, there isn't anything with 10 gig PoE++ in there at the moment. So there could be a gap for it. I don't know what comes in the future. It's only when Ubiquiti announced stuff at this point, or if you were lucky to go to the Unified World Conference, you would have seen some of the bits that were coming later on at the conference. Yes, but I hate the heat. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. That was just something. It was more of a workaround rather than actually having a native product. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have an 8 gig, 10 gig switch. I think I've been looking at something like that for a long time, and I know Armada does have one to have set up that I can plug my NAS into, that I can plug my Mac into. My Mac has a 10 gig NIC inside it. I've just built a new machine which has a 10 gig NIC inside it. So, I mean, these are all interesting use cases that would be useful for me to be able to plug into that 10 gig switch. So yeah, no, I agree. It is something that would be useful for some people, not everyone. So that's their aggregation lineup. Then we move into their enterprise lineup. So these are again, I think their cheapest one was the cheapest one, $799. That is a 24 port layer 3 2.5 gigabit PoE plus output. So that is the cheapest one that you can buy. So that's the enterprise PoE version. We have the enterprise XG version. This is only available in a 24 port. This is 10 gig RJ45. So the Enterprise XG, yep, 10 gig RJ45. There's no PoE power in this. This is literally pure networks. So this is pure, I say pure networks. This is pure connectivity. There's no power that's driven into this. So it's pure data. Two 25 gig SFP plus port, SFP 28 ports, and that would go again to your aggregation switch on this. And then we have the Enterprise Campus one. So this is what I mentioned earlier about the Enterprise Campus, and them going to be releasing these, I'm guessing, fairly soon. Given that they've released the other 2 Enterprise pieces of equipment, I'm guessing this is going to be coming fairly soon. The Enterprise grade ones are very powerful in terms of what they are. So I don't know if anybody's actually, I'm sure a lot of people have dove down into the specs, but these are 10 gig RJ45 ports. So you have 16 10 gig ports, and you have 8 2.5 gig ports. They are all PoE++ capable. So they each can output up to 90 watts worth of power. And then there's the two 25 gig SFP plus ports, SFP 28 ports that would go to, again, your high capacity, your aggregation switch, your enterprise aggregation switch. So if we look down here, if we actually have a look back at the technical specs, you will see, yeah, so the total PoE power available is 1050 watts, which is quite high for a switch. It's definitely the highest one Ubiquiti have got. So excluding PoE power, it's 150 watts, and including it, it can be anything up to 1200 watts worth of power. So if we take in comparison something like the Enterprise, yeah, if we look at the Enterprise 24, which doesn't has PoE power output, sorry, that's PoE plus, so that you can see it's 400 watts worth of PoE power. And if we have a look at the max power consumption, excluding it, it's 90 watts less than that one. So that would be the difference between these two. So there's quite a bit less. There's a lot less power outages, power output if you are being more power conscious. With the last one within the enterprise setup is the mission critical switch. So the mission critical, this one, it was an interesting one. I mean, the concept I think is right. I think there's a lot of rumors about more stuff that's coming around the battery space and the power space. I think there's been a few images that have been leaked in a video, and I think, yeah, there's more to come anyway. I don't have any more information on that. I can't talk any more to it, so I don't know what's coming. I've only seen some of the pictures on there. So this one has a 368 watt hour battery built into it, and this is designed for something that needs, as it says, is mission critical. Like, you need to keep this online even if there's a power failure. So the example they've used here is Unify access. So you need to still have access into doors and being able to exit the doors if you need to. And I think they have some others. If we go down to the deployment, I think they have some down here for phones or cameras. So again, if you want to keep something key that's going on, or if you need something that's important that's always there, like the ISP modem, you can go and plug it into this. So the mission critical switch, it's not been in stock for a little while from what I've seen, but that was the reason for that one. Thank you, Black Jedi, for the compliment. Thank you. Hey Jake, how you doing? So that's the sort of enterprise lineup that we have. Then we move to the Pro Max switcher setup. So this is where we first saw the introduction. So I'm just looking at the comment. Yeah, Team Costco water. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people drink these. They're a good buy, to say the least. So when I'm not buying Ubiquiti equipment, I'm buying Costco water. That's for sure. So the Pro Max setup, we saw the ether lighting setup. So this is where we first saw the ether lighting, which was the nice RGB lighting on the front. Definitely, I guess for anybody that understands or anybody that gets this is definitely a Marmite thing. You either love it or you hate it. For some people, they think it's completely useless. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, what do you think of the PO? What do you think of the RGB lighting on the front? Do you find it useful? Do you find it useless? For me, I think it's a useful feature, even if it's very gimmicky to some people. I find that if we just jump, you can have a quick look at whether it's set via VLAN or the network port speed. I've done ample things where I've gone back and I'm like, why am I only getting a certain amount of speed? And then I realize, well, actually it's negotiated itself to 100 meg. That's why I'm getting not very good speeds. So that's one thing that I find is very useful in that concept. Or if I want to know what VLAN it's going to, that's another useful feature. I think the amount of time you've plugged something in and you find that you're not sure what VLAN it's connected to, it's quite useful to see that on there. The other thing I think would be useful, and I think I said this on my review video, is having the option to actually switch between them. So if you had the option to switch on the little screen between VLAN setting or speed setting, that would be quite useful, I think, for a lot of people. And then you can just flick between the two. My equipment is in the loft, so I only see the ether lightning when there's some sort of issue. So somewhat helpful. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it is a very Marmite thing. You either love it or you hate it. So yeah, sorry, excuse me. So with the Pro Max switches, there's two variants of it. There's three different port settings. So we have 16, 24, and 48. So depending on what kind you need, and the number of ports you need. Do keep in mind, if you were to buy the 16, it's not full rack mount compatible. You'd need to buy the rack mount kit. And I think if I jump into one of them, yep, down here you can see it says 16 Pro Max rack mount kit, $49. So you'd be spending $49 on top if you wanted to be able to rack mount it. They all have 2.5, they're not all, sorry. They have 2.5 gig PoE++ options on them, but it's not all of them. So if we look at the PoE options, the 16 port has 4 2.5 gig PoE++. We have the 24 port, which has 8, and it has 8 PoE as well, and gigabit. And the 48 port has 8 PoE++ at 2.5 gig and 8 PoE++ at 1 gig speed. So depending on what kind of speed you need, you have those options with the Pro Max. Then we have the Pro switches. I think these done quite well for a while. These were single gigabit switches where they first introduced PoE++, I believe, into their switches. So we have the PoE versions, 400 watt and 600 watt. And then we have the non-PoE versions as well. So if you only require data, those are there too. So those were the Pro and those were the Pro switches. And if we jump straight in, yeah. So they had 16. Again, this wasn't everything that was PoE++. This was a 16 port PoE switch. And then the other 8 ports were PoE++. And then they have the 2 10 gig SFP plus ports on the side, and the 48 port will have 4 10 gig SFP plus ports. So that was the Pro switches. If we go to the standard ones, this is where you go to your smaller deployments, I guess. This is where you would go to your smaller deployments, or that don't require as much power within them, or they are literally pure data driven. So these were the gigabit ports, 10 gig SFP plus uplink, and that is about it. And I believe all of these are fanless. So if you want something that's dead silent, that you don't hear, this is something that you could look at. So the 24 port PoE one, I believe, can give you 95 watts worth of power. And it has 16 gigabit PoE plus ports and then 8 gigabit ports. And the uplinks are actually, 1 gig. They're not 10 gig. So the uplinks on all of them, the uplinks on all of them are 1 gig. It's interesting though that they have the standard, but they're advertising a 10 gig DAC cable. I know it works at 1 gig, but yeah. So that's there. And then the final one that we will move into is the 16 port PoE. Sorry, not the 16 port PoE. I'm reading the wrong part of the screen. So the last part is the 12 utility switches. Now, this is something that I think is going to take a few minutes to break down, but there's quite a few different options in here that you can choose from. So we started, I think a little while ago, they released the light switches. So this was an 8 port and a 16 port, which has 4 ports of PoE power. And then they have the 16 port, which is 8 ports of PoE power. So those were something that if you just needed something small to be able to power a few devices, this was something that could do it for you. I'm going to try and quickly see the best way to break this down. Yeah, okay. Fine. So then we have the Enterprise 8-port PoE. Now, this was something that they introduced with 2.5 gigabit PoE plus and 2 10 gig SFP plus ports. So this could be used something like on a desktop or somewhere that you've got set up that you need 10 gig power back to your connectivity. And if we look at the image, it shows you like the U7 Pro Max or the U6 in wall or the U6 Enterprise in wall, which requires PoE plus, which requires 2.5 gig and PoE plus. So that's the kind of thing that you would be using for those sorts of setups. If you need that 2.5 gig, and it has 120 watts worth of power out of it, so it's giving you a lot more power than the light versions. We then have the 8-port Pro, so we have the Pro and the Enterprise. So the difference between these two, if we have a quick look at this, we have 6 PoE plus ports, 2 PoE plus ports, and 2 10 gig SFP plus ports. Both have 120 watts available on them. The only difference is the Enterprise version gives you 2.5 gigs. So if you need something like that, this is the sort of option you want to be looking at. We have the Ultra range that they released. I'm trying to remember when they released this range. I think it was a little while back. I think it might have been, I almost want to say late last year, early this year is when they released something like this. But I mean, if you remember when they released them, yeah, I mean, let me know in the comments. But again, this was this was designed for a compact layer 2 switch, which was 8 gigabits, 8 gigabit ports on them, all PoE, and they give you a different amount of power. So the first one is the Ultra with the 42 watts worth of PoE power out of it. And then we have a 60 watt, which gives you an extra 10 watts of power for PoE power out of it. And then we had the 210 watt version. So the 210 watt version gave you a PoE plus input and gives you 7 gigabit PoE plus outs. But this does come with an extra AC adapter. It doesn't show it on here, but you can see there you've got the no AC adapter, which you would then use PoE plus or some sort of PoE input. Then you would use the 60 watt AC power if you needed 60 watts worth of power. Excuse me. And then they have a 210 watt AC adapter, which will give you full power out of all of those 7 ports. Do you think they will release a utility box for the Ultra? I would like to think so. I'm wondering if there would be something out there at the moment that you can possibly print 3D print to get it to fit in the flex cases. I'm not sure. I do have a flex case here, but yeah, I don't, and I do have an Ultra, so maybe that's something I could have a look at. But it's not something I think that I know of that's on the horizon. It would be useful because having this sort of power in the back of your garden could be quite useful, or somewhere where you need to plug in an access point, cameras, and a few other devices. But I guess that's also what the Flex is designed for, which we'll come on to in a few moments. We have the Flex Mini 2.5G. I think this came out a couple of months ago, last month. This is the first 5-port 2.5 gigabits ports on them. So they do come, it does say powered by PoE. So this is something that you can have one PoE power, and then the other 4 connections on them are 2.5 gigabits. As you can see right there, you've got 4 connections at 2.5, then you have your PoE in. But you also have a USB adapter if you wanted to connect that one up to via USB. You don't have to use PoE plus. So this is what we were just talking about, is the Flex. So this is the Flex and the Flex Utility. You can see them right there, both next to each other. You're looking at $150 for the deployment complete. This gives you 46 watts worth of PoE power on them. You power it via PoE++, and then you get 4 PoE plus ports. So if you power it via PoE++, you get 46 watts of availability. If you use PoE+, you get 20 watts. And if you just use PoE, you only get 8 watts worth of power. To put that into perspective, I mean, let's jump across to one. Let's pick probably a fairly, let's go with the Dome Ultra, for example. I know it's small, so it's probably not going to require as much power. But if we have a look, and this is where this one doesn't tell me how much wattage it needs. There you go. Max power consumption to 4.2 watts. So you can see that takes quite a minimal amount. You wouldn't be able to plug 2 of those into there with just putting in PoE, But yeah, it gives you a sort of understanding of what that does. In terms of the access points, let's just pick a U6 Pro, for example. I think these are around 12 watts. Have I passed it? There we go, 13 watts. Oh, it wasn't too far away. So they're 13 watts worth of power. So you have to, when you are deploying those flexes, you need to try and understand what sort of PoE power that you're going to be outputting. And then you can make a decision as to whether that is suited for you. And the last and final switch that you can buy in terms of their lineup is the Flex 10 gig. So this is a 5-port compact. This is layer 2, so it doesn't do layer 3 switching. So this has the gigabit uplink to your network. So if you were to have this on your desktop, for example, and you have a gigabit uplink, then that will connect to your main switch. But the other 4 ports that are on there are 10 gig. So if you're working on your desk, and as I mentioned, I have a Mac Studio which has a 10 gig connectivity on it, so you can plug that into something like this, and then you can plug your NAS box into this, or you can plug 2 Macs into this, depending on how you're working, if you're transferring data between the two. So yeah, I mean, something like that would be useful if you are working on something like editing, or you're working on highly available files that you always need to access, or multiple people need to access. So they all have their use case. This has a specific use case depending on what sort of setup you need. If you only need a 2.5 gig, then we have the flex switches, which do that for you. So there's a few different options on how you can get these set up. Hi, any experience using unified gateway routers with community fiber ISP? I can't say I have. I do have any experience with this. What sort of, did you have a specific question on this, or was there a specific question you had? I'm just looking up community fiber now. I've not heard of them till now. So what sort of, do they give you an ONT, or do they give you some sort of device that you're, or modem? How do they set it up for you? Okay, cool. They're London based. Just as I open their page, you can see right there, you've just landed on London's best broadband. So 3 gigabit premium Wi-Fi for £39 a month. That's a really good price. If I was in and around London, I would be yeah, I'd be for sure looking to get that for £39 a month. That's not too bad. Then they give you a Linksys router. Maybe it's something we could probably take away from the stream. I mean, reach out to me. We can have a chat and we can work out what you need to do. The Linksys router itself, I'm guessing that's not going to be something that goes into modem mode. Well, it possibly might. I mean, yeah. I mean, send me a message offline. Maybe it's something we can try and take a look at. It's not something I have done before. The only general ISPs I've set up are the more common ones, so Sky, Vodafone, Virgin Media. Yeah, not any of these general niche ones. I know with the Vodafone one, you don't need to use the router. You can go straight from their little ONT box into the UDM Pro or whatever unified gateway you're setting up. And then for Vodafone specifically, you need a what's the word I'm looking for? For Vodafone specifically, you needed their VLAN, and then they give you a username and password that you can use. So yeah, thanks, Jake. You can go straight from the ONT to the fiber, to the unified gateway. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, definitely let me know how you get on with these speeds. I mean, for 3 gigabits upload, is that just upload or is that download? Is that both? Yeah, download and upload. That's really good. So yeah, let me know how you get on with that. I'd be intrigued to know. Original areas use no VLAN. Your areas tend to use VLAN. Okay, interesting to know. Jake is the man to that knows it all. So yeah, I mean, he's given you good, insightful information there. So yeah, I mean that's sort of pretty much what I was looking to cover this week in terms of the switches. I'm hoping to bring you, as I mentioned, probably more interactive, a lot more hands-on sessions coming forward. Once I get set up on my main setup, I am planning to do an unboxing of the power amp. So that's something that I've been wanting to do. I do have it; it's waiting. So once I get set up, hopefully next weekend, I am going to try and stream every week. So I will be here on mainly Sundays, or if there's sometimes during the week where I feel it might be a little bit better, then I'll set out during the week. Is there anything else that I wanted to cover? Just trying to have a quick think. The speakers I'm going to use with it. So actually, in my room downstairs, I have some in-ceiling speakers that I will test, that I will be setting it up with. For when I actually do a stream, they're just some basic 8-ohm 100-watt speakers. I think they're actually in-ceiling speakers as well. I don't know. It's just a box I've got downstairs that I've borrowed from a friend. So I need to have a quick look at what it is, because I wanted to do this on a stream setup. So I wouldn't be able to actually stream downstairs live in the room that I'll be setting it up in, but at least if I can give a live demo on how that's going to work. So I mean, yeah, hopefully I'm hoping next week that's going to be the topic. So if that's of interest to you, do let me know if there's something specific you want to see, and I'll try and incorporate it within the use case when I set it all up. But I mean, we can take a quick look at the power amp itself. Yeah, thank you. Got wire. Sorry, hit the like button. It's something that helps all YouTubers. So yeah, I mean, do hit the like button, and on the chat window, hit the heart button wherever you are, whichever platform you're watching from. So we're going to have a quick look at so this is the Pro Amp. And I saw the Pro Amps are 130 watts per channel at 8 ohms. So hopefully this will do the job for what we need it to do. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's not, I mean, I've had it in the box for a few days now. I was really hoping to do this live stream today, but I didn't quite get enough time to get all the prep done that I needed to get done to make sure the live stream goes smoothly without any glitches, because at that point I'm going to be hoping to use multiple cameras, and yeah, it's going to be a whole different setup. Didn't like the price of it. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone. They were talking about this being a Sonos killer. I mean, there's other ones that a lot of people have mentioned that are probably a little bit better in price and do a little bit more, but it depends on if you're inside the Unify ecosystem. It looks nice. Hopefully it sounds nice too. I haven't, so let's look at Sonos. 1 second. Let's jump across here. So if I bring the Sonos one up here, so we can see 639, 699. I mean, yeah, it's not too much in terms of price difference. I mean, if I jump to the UK, let's pull the UK pricing. So yeah, £600. So yeah, you're right. It's not too much difference in terms of price. Maybe this is a good comparison video in the making. So if Sonos are listening, or if anybody wants to tag Sonos on this video, if you want to send me an amp, 699, I would be happy to do a side by side. This one is 125 watts per channel. So Yeah, I mean that's something. It was a very interesting move. I think the power amp. Um, who knows? Maybe there'll be more coming in this space. I don't think they would. I couldn't see Ubiquiti just putting it at power amp and then leaving it at that. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to come in the future. That's for sure. I'm hoping there's going to be more than just this. So it'll be good to see if they start releasing. I don't know, even if it's starting with speakers or whatever it might be. It'll be good to see what further integrations. I'm not an audio expert and I'm not claiming to be one. So I would just be a general end user to be able to use this and see how we get on. I can imagine for Jake, I mean for commercial, doing a public announcement on this. I think I've read this on a couple of forums as well. People were asking for public announcements potentials on this. So I think that could be just a software update. Could be something that might require more hardware. But yeah, that would be something good. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream, Nakia. So you're talking about possibly, I guess, Jake, you're talking about doing the using the Unify Talk phones to be able to make public announcements through it. Is that what you're talking about specifically? For those that are joining, I'll move it a bit more into the middle. For those that are joining across the other platforms, you might be wondering where those questions are coming from. I am streaming across other platforms, so if you wonder where those questions are coming from, I've just popped them up on the screen if you want to see them. Yeah, I mean, Ubiquiti have been known to do their own sort of thing. They don't like to follow, very much like Apple in that sense. They like to do their own thing, make their own ecosystems, and that's exactly what they're doing. So, yeah, I mean, your comment doesn't surprise me. That's probably something that might happen in the future. They make their own Dante-like standard. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. So, yeah, I mean, that's one I'm going to be bringing to you next week. And then I guess to give you a bit more insight, I've started diving into the world of Unify Access. So I'm hoping to bring a few sessions on these as well. So if you want to see, again, something specific, let me know. And I'll be happy to try and bring those sessions to you so we can do something a little bit more interactive rather than me just talking to a screen and some products, so we can put some stuff together. Again, hoping to expand this to other things as well, not just the devices, so we can go through some we can go through some gateway setups. We can do a deeper dive into switches, Wi-Fi, etc., etc. Have you got anything on unified doorbells? So other than the single doorbell I have set up at home, I don't have anything further on unified doorbells. Run an Ethernet cable to the door when the work was done, but still got an old ring. I mean, I really like the unified doorbell. I have one of the first G4 doorbell pros when they first came out. So I do have one of those set up. And it's good. I mean, it's a solid doorbell. It does what it needs to do as long as it's got decent Wi-Fi connectivity. You're good, which I have an access point near it, so I don't have any issues from that side of it. The PoE Plus one, when I was doing my renovations, had I had known they were going to release a PoE version, I definitely would have ran a PoE cable. I'm very much a person that if I can hardwire it, I will hardwire it. The Wi-Fi ones tend to not be hit and miss, but I mean, like I said, I've not had any issues with mine, but you're dependent on the Wi-Fi signal when you could be using a hardwired cable. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking to make the switch and you don't want any monthly license fees with your Ring doorbell or yearly subscription fees, then yeah, I mean, maybe Unify is something you need to go. And if you haven't already, they were on Black Friday offer. I don't know if you've missed out on them. I think they have gone back up in price now. The Wi-Fi kit, yeah, it's gone back up in price, but these were, I almost want to say 179. Not quite sure, but yeah, I mean, if you haven't got one of those, definitely get that replaced. Access with identity. Yes, identity is something I was going to be introducing with this. I do have to see how I'm going to get this, how these streams are going to work. So it is still a work in progress. But yeah, I mean, definitely identity is something I'm fairly familiar with. So I can definitely do those Unify Access ones. I'm hoping to get a full sort of setup. So I'm hoping to get my hands on some phones soon, so we can do the full sort of kit and play around and see what's possible and what's not possible with these. And yeah, we can definitely do that. I wish Ubiquiti would hurry up and bring the industrial router to the UK, so then I don't have to order from the EU. Yeah, I mean, their UK store is obviously, it's not as big as the EU one. Everything generally goes through to the EU, and I think then it just gets passed on to a third-party shipping provider and then gets delivered out. So hopefully Ubiquiti expand their stuff in the UK, and hopefully, you know, we can get easier access. So we're quite lucky that we can order from the EU store. I've not had any issues ordering from the EU store, but I think there are people that have had issues returning to the EU store. So yeah, that's something that a few people have had issues with, I should say. Only thing I'm worried about is the metal square protruding on the back of the PoE, so I don't want one of those big holes in my door frame. Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. You don't want the big hole on the back of it. So I haven't used the PoE one, so I can't say for sure how big and what you need to have set up there. But I think if I get the chance in the future, I will change to a PoE version. So once I know more about it, and if I get my hands on one, I'll definitely let you know about that. I just buy from one of the UK authorized sellers. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of them in the UK. Lin ITX is one of them. NetXL is another. There's quite a few of them. Let me just bring this across this side. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, there's quite a few of them. And then there's the bigger ones. There's Foregone. There's Broadband Buyer. Yeah, there you go. You just mentioned Foregone as well. There are, I mean, I have worked with Lin RTX in the past, so those guys do, they do sometimes send me some hardware to review from time to time. So they do offer trade pricing. So have a little look at them, and I mean, maybe they even price match as well. So if you do order from Foregone, and I mean, maybe give them a shout and see if they can do something better or whatever it might be. They've just bought a new mobile router out. I need to do a comparison before I order one. I wish it was that easy for me to get hardware. The mobile routers, so I have done one on the LTE router, which is, I know, not the one you're looking for. You're looking for these ones right here. I mean, if anybody wants to send me some for me to review, I'm happy to do so. So if you want to send some across to me, I'll review them and then I can send them back to you. But I haven't had my hands on one yet. I don't actually know. I mean, let's do this. I did this last time as well. So let's jump into YouTube. Let's see how many reviews we have for the each of these. So the mobile industrial router. So we have, let's have a look. Which review is this? So this guy, I'm not going to actually watch these because I don't know. So Cody's done a mobile router review. That was something that was this one that was released. That was over 2 years ago now. So that's the mobile router, but these two are the most recent ones, the Ultra and the Industrial. There's an unboxing. This guy does a lot of unboxings. He doesn't do any demos as such, I don't believe, but he's unboxed them. So we have Hostify, who's done one as well. I mean, there's a few. Again, you've got Cody doing a live stream who's talking about it, but he doesn't. I don't think he's done any reviews on them yet. This is just So there's nobody that's done the mobile router industrial in terms of a review. The Ultra, I don't know what this guy has done. Oops. Let me just skip this advert. So this guy, he sets it up. So he does set up the router Ultra. So yeah, I mean, that whoever he is, so I'm not sure who he is, Beam Networks, he's set up the mobile router Ultra, but he's not done the industrial one. So there doesn't actually seem to be any industrial reviews out here. So who knows? I guess Ubiquiti. I mean, if you want to send some of those across to me, I'm happy to review those as well. I think that was the Ultra. Has anybody? I know I searched industrial, but has anybody done the Ultra other than that one? No, there is literally just that one. I guess what sort of use case were you looking for in terms of the mobile router? What sort of I guess, John, what sort of new mobile router comparison were you looking to do? Is it just one against the other? Are you looking for a specific use case? Is the unified doorbell video doorbell similar to the Ring doorbell? Yeah, I mean it's a normal doorbell. If you give me 1 second. Let me see if I can grab mine. We can have a quick look. If I can find it. So this is the doorbell. This is the sort of, so it's nighttime at the moment, so you're not going to get the best image, but this is just using IR lighting. You normally do see a package doorbell cam. There's a package cam at the bottom. There'll be a floodlight that comes on when someone comes near it, so you'll be able to see what's going on. There's no IR lights at the bottom, but this actually shows any packages that are on your doorstep. I don't think I have anything to show you that would, I guess, I can show you like this down here. You can see there's a little package cam, and if I, you can see that's down there if you want to see what's on your doorstep. So yes, it works very similar. It just goes to Unify Protect. So you need to make sure you have some, you need to make sure you have some sort of Unify Protect setup, and then you can start recording straight to that. And if you want to have a look at the unified doorbell, let's just quickly go back. Security cameras. Where are we? We will find it. Let's just click on doorbell, shall we? That'll be easier. So yeah, it looks a little something like this. And then if we have a quick look down, you'll see at the bottom, there's a camera down here for the package camera, as they call it. And then you have the normal camera setup at here with an IR light and with an IR light on there. And then you have a little LCM display on here, which you can display a few different things on there, different pictures, messages, whatever you want. This looks like the PoE version, but if you buy the Wi-Fi version, you can get yourself, it looks like this. So you would have your normal connectivity that you would have to a doorbell. Naki, I've watched that young man. Yeah, that's probably one. I've not seen him before on YouTube, so yeah, maybe it's something that he's been doing for a short while. John, just looking at some of the differences at the moment between the industry, I guess the industrial stands out for its PoE in and out. Yep, that's definitely the case. Is your day job relating to networking? No, my day job is not networking related. I am I do work in IT, but not networking. I work in a different area to that. So no, that's not my day job. Some recommendations for Wi-Fi access points. It depends what sort of Wi-Fi access point I guess there's a few questions off the back of that. What sort of area you're looking to cover? How many devices do you have? So yeah, there's a few questions to that one before we can access the answer what sort of Wi-Fi recommendations. There are some people on here that would buy an Enterprise 7 for the house, and there's some people that would look to go with an AC Pro. So you need to give a bit more context with what you're looking for. Are you aware of any resources for MSPs or becoming a distributor? What area? Sorry, let me go back to the other question. Are you aware of resources for MSPs or becoming a distributor? I don't have any resources, no, unfortunately. I'm sure if you go to Ubiquiti's website, I'm sure there's a contact section. If you scroll down somewhere, there's become a trainer, become a distributor. There you go. You can fill in your details on here, and yeah, whatever you're looking to sell and all the rest of it. So you can apply right there. In terms of MSP, I couldn't answer that question, unfortunately. Back to the questions. Yeah, what area? Going to a different question as well. Okay, fine. So I'm not going to answer that one at this point. What area I work in? I mean, if you want to know more about me, feel free to drop me a message, and we can have a chat about what I do generally. So U7 Pro Max, U7 Pro, or U6 LR? So I did a video on the U7 Pro Max versus U7 Pro. If I go to here, it's this one right here. So which access points for you? So I go through the specs of it. We do some tests from both close and further away, and we do some throughput and bandwidth tests. So you can go and check those out. I actually replaced my U6 LR with the U7 Pro Max. I haven't done a comparison between the two. Maybe that's something that will come later. But I mean, if we want to have a quick look now, how are we getting on for time? Okay, we've got a few more moments. Let's have a quick look. Wi-Fi. So U7 Pro Max. What have we got down here? So 2.5 gigabit uplink, 8 spatial streams, does Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 with 6 gigahertz. 2.2, 4.4, and 5.5. And I'm going to do this fairly quickly because it's not really the topic of discussion, but I'm happy to take on any questions, but I just won't spend too long on them. So this is Wi-Fi 6. Obviously, keep that one in mind. You won't have Wi-Fi 7 on the U6LR. The 8 spatial streams are the same. In terms of coverage, I believe they are very similar, and it's only a gigabit uplink. So if we go to technical, you can see it has 4x4 in terms of 2.4 gigahertz and 4x4 in 5 gigahertz. And that's the same on both of them. But the 2.4 gigahertz is slightly different. So this is a 4x4 on the U6LR, and it's a 2x2 on the U7 Pro Max. Or did I check the Pro? Let's have a look. Yeah, Pro Max. So that's 2x2. And it's also 2x2 on the 6 gigahertz. If you want the latest and greatest, there are people have mentioned about some IoT stuff with the U7 Pro Max or the U7 Pro. But yeah, those were two. Those were the two I would go with. I'm putting you down as a first line call center IT support. I won't lie, I've done my time in first line quite a number of years ago, but no, I don't do first line anymore. no disrespect to anybody that does it, but yeah, I think I did my time there, and I don't think I want to go back. I'm guessing you do network installations for a living, or camera installations, or anything networking surveillance related, I'm guessing. Or I could be completely off here and digging a hole somewhere. U6LR, U6 Pro Max can fight Shure. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately it's going to be down to whether you want to spend that extra and go with the latest and greatest. I think in terms of where are we in terms of distance? I'm only looking by what it says on here. This says 160 square meters, and I think the LR was 185 square meters. Do keep in mind, if you do have the 185 square meters, you might not necessarily get that. You could be using a phone, for example, which doesn't have long range capability. So you're not going to get that full 185 square meters that you think that you might get. So if that's something that you are, don't just base it straight off numbers, but also look at the devices that you're connecting. If you've got something with some big antennas on it that has the capabilities of reaching back to the Wi-Fi access point, then great, perfect. But yeah, I mean, definitely do keep in mind that not everything is going to reach those maximum distances, because it depends on what you have in your phone or on the device that you're connecting with. Right. Yeah, where did we get to? Love the look of the U6 mesh. There's so many different Wi-Fi access points. U6 mesh, is that the CAN version? Yeah, U6 mesh. Yeah, I mean that was a really nice access point. When they released that, it looked quite nice. But I think their staple is obviously the nice flying UFO circular disc, and they've had obviously the new ones that they've bought, the Swiss Army knife, the U7 outdoor. But if we have a look at the flagship ones, they are all circular discs that sit on the wall or the ceiling. But I mean, who knows? I think there is the U6 mesh. Maybe they might be bringing a U7 mesh version. Who knows? But yeah, I couldn't answer that at that point. The reason I would probably say probably not is because they have the U7 outdoor, which seems to be the next model. It's not a mesh version, but you can mesh with it, I believe. No worries. Happy to answer any questions. Cool. All the way from France. So Jake, networking, CCTV access, security. So do you do a lot of Ubiquiti? I'll ask you the questions now. Do you do a lot of Ubiquiti deployments, or do you work with other vendors? What's your main area? What sort of vendors do you work with? Or are you looking to hire me for a job? Is that why? I'm just checking some of the other platforms. Just bear with me. But I think at this point, we've covered quite a bit on this. We've jumped around a lot topic to topic, which I don't mind doing. So yeah, I mean, if there's any more questions, feel free to ask them in the next moment or two. If not, you can bring them to next week's stream, where hopefully the setup will look a little bit different if I get enough time this week to get set up on the outside. Hopefully we can have a different setup next week, and we can hopefully start looking at the power amp. And I won't use the word hopefully anymore. For a lot of stuff we use Unify for networking, especially in high-end domestic. So yeah, okay, cool. Nice. I guess you're sort of London based, that sort of area. But if you haven't already, do go and subscribe to the channel. I do, again, try and release videos every week. Primarily, a lot of my stuff is around Ubiquiti, but I do some other stuff from time to time, and I'm looking to cover a few more vendors with some of the other equipments that they have. So do keep an eye out. There's more stuff coming, and do you have an Ethernet surge protector deployed? No, I don't. That's one I've been thinking about doing for a little while. Excuse me. But no, I don't have a surge protector deployed. Bring that one to the next stream. We'll have a discussion on that one. Essex, but also cover London, Kent. Okay, cool. Do you use Home Assistant? So Home Assistant is one of those things that I've set up 2 or 3 times. I've started using it and then stopped. So it is something I definitely want to start doing again, especially with things like the doorbell and using smart locks for the automation. We've seen a few videos out there already with the fingerprint reader on the G4 Doorbell Pro. And I definitely want to start getting a little bit more into it. And I'm hoping if I can get some more videos linked with the Unify stuff, I'll be doing some more videos on it as well. I have used it since 2021. So there's a lot of people I know that use it and they swear by it. So definitely something I just need to find the time to start playing around with it, because I haven't found that just yet. But let me say at this point, thank you all for joining me this evening. The stream was a little bit longer than I anticipated. I thought we were going to end up a little bit earlier. But yeah, we'll definitely chat again next week, and hopefully a bit more of a different topic. So I can imagine it takes up a lot of time to learn it, which is probably why I've been putting it off, because I know it's going to be a bit of a steep learning curve. But yeah, bring your questions through to next week, probably around the same sort of time, and have a great rest of your weekend.